everyone, I'm Salita, and I thought it might be a good idea to put together a little intro video so you get used to me, maybe, and what this study is all about. As you read on the blog intro for the Love Dare study, this came to me about, sad to say, 5 years ago, and I was in a dating relationship at the time, and it wasn't necessarily going at the speed or direction that I wanted. And I was searching God, but I was searching God to go along with my plan. Anyway, in the middle of the night, one night, I woke up with the Love Dare on my mind. I was like, seriously, the Love Dare? And I had watched the movie Fireproof a year or two before, and so I was familiar with it. But the first thing that came to my mind was like, whoa, wait a minute, the Love Dare, that's for married couples, but hey, I could probably tweak that to work with a dating relationship. And long story short, it was really about developing a love dare with God. And so what I do, first of all, the only thing that you need to purchase for this study is the book, The Love Dare. Now, I've taken mine apart because I've used it a lot. And this is the cover. I'll put a link on the blog. I sort of took for granted that everybody knew this book, and everybody doesn't. So I'll put a link so that you know for sure what book, but you could probably go to Half Price Books or any used bookstore, because like a lot of things, people get these and they don't necessarily use them. But we will use this book as a guide, and that's the one thing. I don't want to take anything away from the authors of this book, because it is fantastic. The principles of love are so dynamic, and they've made it very relatable. So what I did was take it from it's a 40-day dare that was geared towards your spouse, and put it in context of my love for God. And as odd as it may sound, it was probably the best thing that I've ever done. And yes, I did it in 40 days. I don't recommend it, because if you're anything like me, then that's a lot to take in 40 days. But if and I just maybe thicker brain to get through, so some principles take a little time for me. I did a 12-week study in 12 months, so I may err on the side of taking too long with things. But anyway, this is the book. This is all you need to go out and purchase. And the way the book is designed, the authors have gone through, and each day has a commentary. It has a verse, which we may or may not use that particular verse. And then it has a dare at the end. And so we're just going to take that dare of whatever it is for the day and reshape it into our relationship with God. The book has plenty of room for writing, so if you want to write it there, that's perfectly fine. But what I'm going to provide you for each day, so there will be 40 printouts, is for what I'm doing with the dare, of how we're going to flip it. So I'm taking the approach of think, write, and pray. And that's one of those things that has always sort of helped ground me in my thoughts and help me learn principles. So, for example, on patience, in the book, it talks about, what about, show patience with your spouse. But what I'm going to do is, on the first day, it's very simple. It's, this isn't like I'm going to write dissertations or anything like that. And to me, simpler is always easier to put into action. So for the first one, which is patience, the think part is meditate on the ways you exercise patience with God. And that you may have a long list or you may have a short list, but either way, then you're going to be able to write out those areas of where you struggle, and then those areas that are easier for you to exercise that patience with God's timing. And then to close out, to pray to God about about these principles. And the one thing that I did in the study when I went through it originally was at the end of every day I wrote out my prayer, because I forget things a lot. And so it's helpful for me to go back and say, okay, this is what God put on my heart at this moment in time. And I still go back to them and I think, wow, God, you're so good at this. And so anyway, you will have your book to write in, and then with each day you'll have writing space here, but it folds so that you have like a page and a half to write. I'll also provide you 2 pages that are just lines for your notes and things, so you can print out as many of those as you want. And this 8.5 by 11 page folds in half, and it's exactly the same size as the book. So I just have this little binder. You can, really whatever works for you, to put it in a journal or tape it, or what have you. It's not so restrictive that you have to do it just a certain way. So that's the premise of the study. What I've set out to do is about 3 days a week of dares. So it's gonna take longer, and if you're joining me at the very beginning of this, all of the videos and studies and everything won't necessarily be available. So if you're a go-getter, you're just going to have to be patient with me. But we're planning, meaning me and God, planning on 3 days of dares per week. So that if you have a crazy schedule and, with children, and here I am retired, so now it's easier for me. But when I did this 5 years ago, I was working an insane job. I still had parenting responsibilities, had a household to manage, and time was very thin. And the last thing that I think you want to do with this type of study is to shortchange yourself. And that's all it boils down to. You can rush through it and check it off and say you did it, or you can take your time. And and it's a balance, because sometimes you can take too much time and then you kind of lose your momentum. So I am praying for each and every one of you that you will find that balance that's necessary. But you got to plan this. I usually spent 2 hours, I would say, between reading over the commentary and then writing out my thoughts. Of course, this time the thought portion of it is a little more directed, because I was just kind of coming up with it as I did each day. But I would give yourself an hour to 2 hours. And usually what I found the most beneficial was to read the commentary in the morning or the night before, and then kind of let it seep in a little bit as you're going throughout your day, so that you've practiced something during the day that you can write to. Or since it's just 3 days a week, you can, read the commentary at night, be prepared, and then the next night, write out your answers and notes and stuff. So that's the whole idea behind it, is just to give you the ample time to really let this take hold. And I cannot say enough about this book. The commentary, still going back to it today, is so powerful. And love really does dictate every aspect of our life, of how we go about our day, and our whole mindset of how we interact with all the other humans around us. And so I'm very excited. I have drug my heels on this study for a really, really, really long time, and God just really convicted me a few months ago. I had a little bit of an additional health scare, and it was like, Selena, get with the program. God didn't give you this just for you. Or just for me. It's for you. And so that you can perhaps learn something new and then pass it on to someone else. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to have the study ready to go. It'll be mid to late January. I know at the first of the year, first of all, you're recovering from all of the holiday activities and maybe New Year's activities and getting kids back in school. And so I'm looking at the 3rd or 4th week of January to get started. And once it's up, it's going to be there as long as I can keep it there. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't start this day, so I'm going to miss out, because you won't. I would love your feedback, because what makes sense to me may not make the best sense to anyone else. And so your feedback is very much appreciated in advance. And oh yes, one more thing. Of course, if for those of you that do know me, know that God has just really opened my heart into creating art along with my journaling. And I'm not an artist, and so I don't have the technical skills or anything like that. I'm a doodler and I'm a writer. And so I bought a new interleaved Bible. You can use any Bible you want. But what I have a feeling I'm going to end up doing is maybe creating some Bible art to go with the study. It may not be for each day. It may just be one a week that I pick one particular scripture that speaks out to me. That'll be available for you to print and either put in your Bible, put in your journal, wherever you like. And usually I think you can scale it down so it fits to different things. But I hope that is something that you will also enjoy. So let's see if I can actually get this video uploaded to the site. I'm not a videographer, so hopefully I've actually looked at the camera. I did know enough to flip it around so I can't see myself and things aren't backwards for you. So that much I knew. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm very excited about 2018. My, whoopsie, I just dropped the little remote thingy. My word for the year is going to be focus, which is definitely a big deal for me. So here's to 2018 and getting started on the Love Dare with God. Blessings.